the most simple hack for a dopamine kick in your brain. Smile more. No, you don't even have to say a nice thing, whether it be out loud or to yourself. Like, just start with the simple act of smiling more. And at first it's a little bit uncomfortable. Like, why am I smiling? And then it becomes addictive in the best way possible. There's no better addiction than something that serves humanity.
All right, guys, I'm here with Preston Stigall. I am so excited to have you on the show. As I've told you many times, and I try to tell you as often as possible, your energy, the way that you show up for the world, when I'm witnessing you with other people, is just such an inspiration to me. And my hope is that we share some of that energy with the audience, and I know that we will. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, thank you, brother. I don't mean to make this a complete love fest, but you inspire me. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for doing what you do at the gym. Only by God's grace, I got to this community in November, and it's been an incredible ride, and you're a huge part of that. So
yeah, and that's actually where I kind of thought I'd start. You are fairly new to Bastrop. You tell me about your story about how you came here, how you ended up here, because such a gift to all of us who now have you in our community. But I'm still a little fuzzy on the details about like how all that came about.
Oh my gosh. How much time you got?
As much as we need.
So my story to get here is just one of those complete miracles where you look up and each morning I start my day with appreciation, wonder, humility, and thankfulness just by how I got here. So there's a lot to dig into, but I'll start with the most simple kind of response, my career. So I sell heavy duty truck parts, big rig trucks that pull the trailers. I got 4 states down here, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana. This is a new segment of my career, started in November. Before that, I was working for a different entity in my company in the north central United States. And Athan, this territory, I just saw it open within a different entity of our company. So I took a leap of faith. I said, hey, I'm living in South City, St. Louis. I'm kind of stagnating. I want to take a leap of faith and go see what's up in Texas. So this story gets real crazy after that decision, because I live in a tiny house up the road at Bastrop, or at Arnold Custom Builders in Bastrop. So I made the decision to put in a request to switch entities of the company. Put in the request. It got approved shortly thereafter. So I was like, hey, logistically, let's get down there. Anyways, I started looking online for a tiny house. I typed in tiny house. It was either Texas or tiny house Corpus Christi, Texas. Because at the time I had this idealistic, how our minds go. I was like, I'll pull a tiny house down to the beach in Corpus Christi, be in my territory, still be able to fly to some of the bigger cities where I work, and just live on the beach with my dog. By God's grace, I have no baggage. I don't have any kids. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a mortgage. I'm going to live on the beach. So anyways, looking forward to my eventual move, I was like, I'll go fly into Corpus Christi and grab a rental car and just take a peek, like get the feeling, find out where I can put a tiny house. Anyways, I get down to Corpus Christi. This is in about a year ago. It's around July. So I get to Corpus Christi, and it's like, with COVID and everything, it's like there's RVs everywhere. So I pop into these RV places. I'm like, hey, I see you got a lot of RVs. What about like tiny houses or tiny house villages? And they looked at me like I was speaking hieroglyphs or like Chinese or something. So it was like one of those times where your stomach just completely drops out. Like everything you had envisioned, like Mike Tyson says, you get hit in the mouth. Like all your plans just go out the window. So I was like, I went to my rental car. I've never had an anxiety or panic attack in my life, but I almost had one there. Like my eyes started flickering a little bit, just feeling overwhelmed. Like I have this new entity career, if you will have. What am I going to do? Like, because everything I thought was lined up, just completely the bottom fell out of it. Again, I haven't told this story too many times, but I might be all over the place because there's a lot. But before I went down to Corpus Christi, I had actually saw a tiny house that ended up being at Bastrop. So I knew what tiny house I was going to be pulling. I thought I was going to pull it down to Corpus Christi. So anyways, I call the place, Arnold Custom Builders, where I bought my tiny house from. Almost panic attack anxiety. But I called them. I said, just seeking a lifeline. I'm like, hey guys, the tiny house that I'm interested in, blah, blah, blah. Like, is there anywhere locally in Bastrop to where I can just stick it for a while, to where I can figure out where I'm going to live? Like, this is my territory, 100%. I'm going to be working. So is there anywhere, like, even if it's somebody's like in their driveway in the back of their house, where I can hook it up with plumbing and electricity? Anyway, she goes, actually, if you can wait a few months, we're developing a tiny house village on site. And it was like the heavens just opened up. I said, oh my gosh, waiting a few months is actually perfect because I still don't have everything together on my end yet. And since that moment, that conversation, things have just fallen into place, like so many different things. You, Strive, the Arnold Custom Builders community, like it's humbling and it's baffling how many things have fallen into place to make where I'm at right now in Bastrop the most amazing thing that I could have never predicted.
Isn't that crazy how that happens? And you hear the cliche about, when one door closes, another one opens, or
Yes.
you hear other cliches about, well, when an opportunity, I'm paraphrasing it, but when an opportunity goes away for you, it's because that wasn't there's another one coming that's actually your opportunity.
100%.
And it's just crazy how that happens.
Oh my gosh.
And because like, what a gift now, like thank goodness you didn't end up for me, selfishly, thank goodness you didn't end up in Corpus Christi, because I wouldn't be sitting here with you now and I wouldn't have been receiving all of the gifts that you give daily. So that's amazing.
Yeah. And again, not for a bro, just fluff fest, but it's crazy how it works too, as in like, you think I'm giving you gifts. No, I think you're giving me gifts. How that just kind of upwardly spirals into growth of like Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People calls it not a compromise where two people are given a little bit, but he calls it a third greater option at like the top of a triangle. So it's so cool to be living out the apex of that triangle right now with all the great stuff that is Bastrop. And, work having this new territory and being successful is just kind of a side effect of it. Like that was never the goal was never, hey, I'm 100% focused on being the absolute career best salesman. Like that'll be my whole life. No, I came into the move with an open mind and a curious mind, to just, as I said earlier, a complete leap of faith. Like, hey, with career, new community, like all that stuff, and how everything has just lined up. Like, it's like one thing affects everything. Like everything's just been kind of synergizing in just a miraculous way. So my response to that is to be appreciative and to be thankful. And I start every single day with that. And
yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, because you mentioned your like how you start your day earlier, and you mentioned it again. And you and I get to talk sometimes. Like I know you're well read, you're well studied, you're a man of faith, and so but we've actually never talked about what is your morning. Do you have a morning routine that's like specifically structured? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah. As in one of our mini bro outs, we discussed a common favorite book called The Miracle Morning. And
love that book.
Oh my gosh. It's so easy to read, but there's so much like dynamite just packed into such a little, simple, applicable book. Anyways, monotony is the mother of all skill. Every single morning starts pretty much the exact same for me.
Mastery. That's what I always say is like when you can really get really, really good at the basic stuff is when you become, get closer to mastery. And so it's similar to what you just said. Yeah.
Yeah. So, having a miracle morning for me, starts the night before. I wind down like an old man. I start winding down pretty early, 5, 6, 7, winding down and preparing my stuff for the next day, whether it be, my tea. I have my coffee pods already loaded with the coffee grounds. I have my water with electrolytes already set up. And that's a big, Jocko Willink, he's big on that, about the night before. Have everything to make it to where you take your mind and emotions completely out of getting that routine kick started. So my routine looks like, I can't believe it's been this long in the podcast. I haven't mentioned Wheezy. I got a 7.5 pound Chihuahua Yorkie mix, who's my absolute best friend. So
it's honestly one of the sweetest things that I witness is like your connection with Wheezy. It's really special. I mean, that's like true love, obviously. I mean, you know, which is so amazing to watch you guys together. And then, you know, you've got this like stud of a man, and then this little tiny, sweet little dog. And it seems like it doesn't seem like a match when you look at it on paper, but it's the perfect match in actuality.
Oh my gosh. Law of attraction in actuality. He's 10. And I guess to back up a little bit on part of the huge reason why I wanted to move is because I was in the entity of my company that I was selling to in the North Central United States. I was having to fly every single week. I had actually 7 states in that entity of the company. And I would be away from my dog 3 damn days every week. And that kind of takes a toll, just because man's best friend, like I don't want to sound too corny or too whatever, but he's my best friend. He's a big part of my life. So now down here, even if it's sometimes like 8-hour trips driving to Oklahoma City, I get to take little wee-wees with me every single trip virtually. And it's awesome. He has his little penthouse condo carry bag, and he loves it. It's his safe place. He cuddles in there, and he's just utterly at peace. And to see him at peace makes me have peace too. So I don't know what.
So you start your day with him? Is it you brought him up because he's part of your morning routine?
Okay,
or?
Circling back.
Yeah.
I don't have to wake up with an alarm clock, because Wheezy used to cuddle with me, and he would wake up every single morning between 4:30 and 5:30. So I cut that cord. He sleeps under the couches, either the couch or the spare bed in the little tiny house, and I sleep up by myself in the loft. Anyways, I wake up between 4:30 and 5:30 every single morning, just because he kind of ingrained that into me. But I will get up. I'll turn up the thermostat, because it was blasting down at 63 with the fan on every morning or every night before I go to bed. So I'll turn that up so it cools so it warms back up the tiny a little bit. I open the tiny window. I can hear the birds chirping.
Getting some nature in.
Backing up just a little bit. Up there at Arnold Custom Builders, the tiny house village, it's about 200 yards off the highway, back down the hill next to a pond, in just like the most unbelievable serene nature setting. So I love immersing myself immediately when I wake up in the birds and everything. So I go out and walk Wheezy. Before I walk him, actually, I already have the cup of water, whatever you call what's the Pyrex thing? What's that called?
You're talking about you're like boiling water?
Yeah,
with
then
something?
You put water. What is that called?
The French press? Is it a French press?
No, it's the thing you heat up the water in. What is that called? It's a little Pyrex with a handle on it, 4-cup.
I don't know.
Anyways, a measuring cup.
Oh, a measuring.
So I before I take Wheezy out, I put on the measuring cup full of water to boil while I'm out walking him. I walk with him, get my mind right, listen to the birds. I'm thinking about, holy crap, I have another day on this earth. Like, just utterly baffled and appreciative and proud.
So gratitude, appreciation is a part of that.
The gratitude starts as soon as I wake up, hit the ground walking, not running in the morning, but at a nice, easy pace, out walking Wheezy. Anyways, I come back inside, pour the measuring cup full of boiling water into my tea, start brewing tea.
What kind of tea?
Oh my gosh, I love Jocko white pomegranate tea, and I also do green tea, and I do coffee fruit tea. Which coffee fruit tea? It's not coffee at all. It's the fruit from the coffee plant. Anyways, it's a little bit fruity, not too much caffeine, because I like to start my day at a nice, easy pace. So by the time I get back in, the water's boiled, put put on the coffee to, put on the tea to start brewing, and I open up my journal, start journaling. And it's not I don't necessarily gratitude journal a day, but like inherently, just the fact that you can see, you can blink, your heart's beating, you can hear the birds, implicitly,
just built in, right?
It's gratitude out in practice. Yeah. But my journaling practice starts with, where am I? Not exactly that, but a thought of like, okay, where am I? What's the current status of my life? How the hell did I get here? Where am I going? And depending on what you have going on in your life, there's obviously things to write out, but I journal for about, holy cow, sometimes 5 pages of journaling. Just
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But sometimes only 5 sentences too. Like, so I'm pretty abstract, right-minded in that regard, that, hey, whatever I feel like is going to cover the bases for that day, I'll do as much or as little as I need. Yeah. So I'll journal. And by that time, the tea is already infused with all that yummy white tea, pomegranate, or whatever, the green tea. And I'll drink my tea, and Athan, I'll just sit there, like, after I'm done journaling, and just take it in, like,
just reflect. And yeah,
that's helped me to have at 4:30 or 5:30 to have such a huge chunk in the day to where you leave room for that time. So a lot of times I have enough room left to where I can just sit and bask. And since I started with appreciation already, anxieties or anything negative is not even in the picture, just because it's like genuine vibes vibrating internally of appreciation and counting my blessings.
Yeah, I want to, for the audience that knows you and is listening to this, they get what I'm about to say. But for those of you who don't get what I'm about to say, is, people who experience Preston, like in his actual life, the high energy, the high vibration that you give all the time, I'm sure, and in fact, I've probably been part of some conversations. It's like, how is this guy so positive all of the time? Like, how is his energy so good? And so I want people to not bypass what we just talked about. This is part of his practice that he does every single morning, every single day, to ensure that he is engaging in his day and in his life with the right mindset, with the right energy, and with the right focus. So don't skip past that. And I have a similar, I deeply appreciate it because I read the same book you read, and then I adapted it to work for me. And so I deeply appreciate a morning practice, and I'm always trying to coach people towards that. I get constantly people saying, well, I'm not a morning person. And I'll look at them in the eye and say, that's a choice. What time you wake up every day is a choice, and certainly you may not be in the habit of it right now, but you just need to adjust a couple things. And I promise you that when you start your day, quote unquote, right, whatever right means for you, you will have more good days. And when you have more good days, you have a good life. And when you have a good life, that's what it's really all about.
Momentum, baby.
Yeah.
And I'll piggyback off what you just said. Our boy Hal Elrod, who wrote
the book. Yeah.
One of his big things, and it's like simple, but it's like, wow, I never thought of it like this, is no matter if you take 5 extra minutes each morning or 2.5 extra hours, it's like free time that is just extra, a bonus in your life. Because
pure enhancement.
Exactly. So it's just like a bonus. But I guess I was kind of going off on tangents. To simplify your answer to how my morning starts is walk wheezy, tea, journal. Then I go into I'm a man of faith. And more specifically, I'm a follower of Christ. Tony Dungy wrote this daily devotional book, 365, obviously. It's called The Uncommon Daily Challenge. So I do that every day. That's after I journal. And since there's a Bible verse as his devotion, he has a few paragraphs about how that applies in real time. But I actually, the Bible, it's so important to make sure you understand the context, because as Pastor Jeremy from North Point in Springfield, Missouri says, if you don't understand the context, then the text becomes a con. So I read the entire chapter of whatever verse is in my devotional. Then
more people need to do that, by the way, not to cut you off, but so many people will read a quote. They'll use a quote. They'll say it's their quote pulled out of, and not that it doesn't still have value in isolation, right? You get to choose. Each sentence has its own value. However, it does help to, sometimes quotes are pulled out of things they're completely out of context for what the bigger picture was. So I'm glad that you do that, that's a strong perspective and approach.
Yeah, because taken out of context, something can not only mean kind of something different, oftentimes it can mean completely the opposite. Not referring to anything biblical, but just in today's day and age with the editing and the quoting and the headlines, it can become damaging if you don't look at the broad full spectrum.
Totally agree. So I cut you off though, but that was part of your devotional and your journaling was kind of using that book, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's Tony Dungy's The Uncommon Daily Challenge. Anyways, after that, I do a little devotional stack kind of. I have another daily from your boy Ryan Holiday called the Daily Stoic. I do that every single day.
Love that. I'm now on my second time through it, which is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. What I love about Tony Dungy's devotional and Ryan Holiday's devotional daily is that they aren't acting like they come up with any of this stuff. Tony Dungy is pointing to the apostles, to people who wrote the Bible, to God. Ryan Holiday is pointing to the Stoics. Like we have the luxury of, for free or for a very little cost, of standing on the shoulders of giants, of people who have already figured out stuff long before us. So I just try to piggyback off their wisdom to start every single day.
I love that. You and I have had conversations about that. It's just like how much free wisdom is out there. So not just, especially in terms of like ancient wisdom, but also, more modern interpretations or more text, and it's just all out there for free. And this is an unprecedented time. And if you're not as a part of your day, trying to absorb some of that or understand some of it, I really feel like you're missing out on something.
100% missing out. Yeah, because to know that we have virtually, in reference to what has already been done, to just have the humility to know to just know, hey, we don't have this figured out, but there are sources that you can tap into to figure out and adapt that to your personal situation. Like, it's timeless wisdom, but there's wise people these days, and then you within yourself, you can figure out how to apply that timeless wisdom to your daily practice, to your daily life. What's going on with your career? What's going on with your relationships? Because I heard it said that nobody's manufacturing antiques. Like antiques, like this stuff was already created.
Right.
So
yeah. And I think that it's a belief that I have that, and this is, I would say it's a hypothesis, but I believe that all the answers that we do know, or at least have access to the answers within ourselves, by whether that be tapping into a higher power, to God, universe, whatever people call it, or just with our own seeking and witnessing of information. The answers are all there. I think the problem still goes back to what you're talking about, is not enough people take time to be still, to be silent, to reflect. That everyone's looking out here, or wanting someone to just give them the answer, rather than being with themselves, taking the time to like really reflect, and like you said, going through the process of whether it be, your own affirmations or your own meditation or your journaling, and just the answers are there. You just got to be engaged in a process that pulls them out.
Amen, brother. And we're talking about Ryan Holiday. One of his books is Stillness is the Key.
Love that book. I'm on my second time. I'm listening to it this time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I read it a couple years ago, and when I was reading it, it really struck a chord with me because it enhanced my morning routine that I kind of already had going. Like my morning routine is in constant evolvement. It's not like, hey, I have to have this because I don't get attached to that. If when you pick up things, if you're not changing, you're not growing. But when I read "Stillness is the Key," I was living with a roommate at the time, and I said, "Josh, unbelievable book." And I've really started incorporating this practice of not having to do this or not reading this each morning, but just being still for a little bit. Like that, I've found out so much about myself, and I've gotten more confidence about what's going on and where I'm headed. And anyways, I said that to Josh, and I'll never forget the big look in his eyes. He goes, "Dude, that scares the hell out of me."
Yeah, because people can't be with themselves. I mean, I think that people, and I'm guilty, I'm 100% guilty of this myself, that I busy myself with tasks and things to do and projects because I don't want to be with myself. You know, I'm afraid of taking a look at who I really am and like having to deal with that. And so I just distract. And now I'm getting better at it. I'm trying, but the truth is if I'm being honest, that a lot of times the things that I do all the time were one, built in me trying to prove to the world my worth and my value because I didn't feel valuable and I didn't feel worthy. And the opposite of that is like I didn't want to deal with who I really was. And so yeah, I think what an honest and vulnerable thing that he said to you by saying that terrifies me because that's real.
Yeah. And another part of it is it's not flashy. You can't make a post about it. Hey guys, hey everyone, I spent 15 minutes this morning doing absolutely nothing, listening to the birds and glancing over at my little Chihuahua Yorkie every 5 or whatever minutes. That's not glorified and it's not flashy, but the reward is priceless because Ed Milet, awesome guy, awesome entrepreneur. Anyways, he said, in his opinion, the best way to build confidence is keeping promises to yourself. Anyways, that meditation time, and there's the other side of it. You think about all the promises that you have kept to yourself, and that builds confidence, or you think about how you've fallen short of the promises that you were going to make. But powerfully, in silence and stillness, you can map out a roadmap for that day, that week, that month, or even for the rest of your life. Hey, this is what I intend on doing. And then once you start living up to those promises that you commit to in the stillness, holy cow, you build confidence, momentum, and you spiral upwards, and it just feels good. And confidence breeds confidence.
100%. And one of the things that you sent me that podcast with Ed Milet yesterday, and I listened to it. And one of the things that Coach, what was his name? Dabo Sweeney. Dabo Sweeney. I messed up his name. Dabo Sweeney. But he says, we're going to squeeze you up. And like doing things like that, yeah, it's going to squeeze. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm squeezing you up like in a tube of toothpaste.
I'd never heard that. Yeah,
that was awesome. So good. But I also know that a part of your routine, your practice is exercise, physical fitness, whatever training. Does that play into you being at your best, or like what is that for you? Where was that born? What is your fitness? How does it all play in?
Okay, so fitness is a huge part of my life. Not necessarily CrossFit or not yoga or not running, just the overall kind of general fitness. Hey guys, I'm not attached to any label as far as CrossFit or anything else goes, but just if we keep moving, like I don't need to get into all the white papers on biology and neurochemistry and all that stuff, but when you get moving for the day, it builds confidence. It gets all those juices and those neurons and those synapses firing. Anyways, so yeah, that's my long way of saying fitness and movement is a huge part of my life. And I don't necessarily do it in the morning just because the number one huge priority of every single morning is to get my mind and my soul right. So I guess to kind of put a bow on my miracle morning, summarized, my miracle morning is I want to fill up, overflowing, so that throughout the day, the rest of the or hours I'm awake, the 12 hours that I'm awake, since I'm overflowing because of my morning, I can pour out genuinely.
I love that. I don't think enough people go through their days. They're oftentimes they go through thinking about what can I take, what can I give, what can I receive, me, and rather than thinking what can I give, how can I pour out like that, which is huge.
Yeah.
Another thing that you said, and I remember what I was going to say earlier, but it goes in line with what you were saying about your fitness and what you were saying earlier about. And what I interpreted was really about purpose. Like when you said whatever you're trying to achieve, or you were talking about that, or your promises to yourself, what you said. And what I was hearing while you were saying that is my promises to myself are achieving my purpose, and I feel like that gives you when you know your purpose, and you can, purpose is not necessarily issued to you at birth. It's created by you. You get to choose what you want your purpose in life to be. But when you know it, when you're clear on it, and you attach to it, it gives you flexibility. There's a lot of different ways to achieve that purpose daily. And so then you are living up to the promises to yourself, because but then with your fitness, when you tie your fitness into your purpose, like how does this help me to be better at what my purpose is? And you don't get so locked into, well, what does it have to do with my body fat percentage, or what does it have to do with how much weight I lift? And so then it gives you a healthy place to wrap your fitness, because you're 100%. Of course, I own gyms. I've been a strength coach for a long time. I 100% believe that your physical well-being is deeply connected to
self-worth,
but your ability to live up to your purpose in this world.
100%, because it gives you the vitality that you need to be able to live that purpose that you've agreed on with yourself.
It's your vessel of, it's like a car in some ways, right? Like if you're headed somewhere on a trip in a car, on a journey, right, in a car, and that car's rattling and the tires kind of low and it keeps breaking down along the way, it's going to be hard to get to that. It's going to hard to enjoy that journey. Yep. And to really participate, and your body is that vessel. It's that vehicle of getting you toward that purpose and on the way.
Dude, that's a perfect metaphor. Stephen Covey in 7 Habits, so there's product, which is us, or any product. But anyways, there's PC, which is production capability. And keeping that saw sharpened is important, so that you can be able to give, if that's your mission, so you can give people 100%. Because the best favor you can do to humanity is to first and foremost be the best you can be.
Absolutely. Yeah. You are the gift, and you don't want to give a crappy gift to the world.
Amen.
You want to give a great gift to the world.
Yeah. And of course there's part of the confidence and maybe some vanity of working out is your self-perception. A lot of it is tied to how you not only feel, but how you look in the mirror. Like it's tangible. You can see your body change when when you're keeping it oiled up, keeping those tires aired up, just like your car analogy.
The paint.
Yeah, that's your baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have. There's something that you do that I've always wanted to ask you about, and maybe you don't even think much about it, but I've witnessed you do it several times, and so I wanted to ask you about it. You'll be sitting in the gym. Oftentimes it's after a workout, and everybody's saying their goodbyes, and headed out of the gym. You're usually kind of you're getting wheezy in his thing and everything, and someone will leave, and you'll yell across the gym. You'll be like, last time I saw you was Joshua. You said, "Joshua, I love you," and then you'll wait, and then if he says, "I love you too," or something like that, you'll whisper to yourself. You'll say, "Yes." And I'm curious, is that like, what is that for you? Is that a thing that you like? Do you do that innately, or is that something that you like do purposely?
Wow, good question. I've never been asked why, because a lot of people know that I say I love you to a lot of people.
Which is not enough people say it, and I appreciate that.
But that's cool that you ask why. That's fantastic. this is in real time, so I'm thinking about it. I want to be precise in my speech. First and foremost, the easiest response and the most genuine response is, why do you say that? Because I do. Like, I love this gift of life so much. Starting my day off with the miracle morning, it pumps me the heck up. Like, I am stoked to not only go out and just do random stuff, to like say hi to people at Walmart or whatever, but like, I have the privilege and the physical ability to be able to get to go to Strive Gym in Bastrop, Texas. Like, what an honor and a privilege. And I'm not saying that to fluff you up, but just going through those doors, it pumps me up. Like, people communicating, getting fit, like helping themselves and then in turn help others. Like, that genuinely pumps me the heck up so much that like, I can't even describe it right now, but I try to live it out. And the least I can do after we've worked out or after I've spoken to somebody, the least I can do is show them that favor to say, hey, you're an awesome human being. I love you, because they've given me so much already. It's just my kind of way of doing them the courtesy of saying, hey, I appreciate it. And I wish you well, and I love you, and I can't wait to see you again.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad that you do that, because, you know, coming to a gym, especially for new people, people who maybe are just getting started on their journey, or they've been away from their journey for a while and they're trying to come back to fitness and come back to health, having such it's so important to me as the owner to have that welcoming environment that people feel safe and they feel welcomed and they feel supported, and to have people buy into that and to create that culture is and to take an ownership on themselves. It's not like I told you, hey Preston, I need you to make sure you do.
Yeah.
No one ever told you that.
Yeah.
You know, you take full ownership of that, and I think those are the kind of people we draw in.
Amen.
You know, it's like a magnet. Has this been one thing that I wonder, have you always had this kind of energy? Have you always had this perspective on life? Or was this something that you've learned as an adult? I've always been curious about it. Did you grow up in a home that was very much like this, or what's the source?
Excellent question. I'll circle back to that, but I want to put a bow on part of your question before was, why do you go, yes?
Oh yeah. I want to hear that.
So like, I have an interesting sense of humor. Love Napoleon Dynamite. So when Kip says, yes, that's part of it. And another part of it, Athan, is because between 30 and 40%, I get the I love you back. So it's celebrating those little victories. When I get an I love you back, it's not that the people who I don't get it from, it's not that I don't think they love me back, but it's just an extra little treat when you can hear it verbally, audibly, and then see their smile, like you have your smile on your face right now. That pumps me up even more. So yes, let's go.
Bonus points, extra energy points.
Yes. Okay. So how did I get this way? And has this been my parents, my goodness, like bless them. They've been married 26 years. I was raised, to follow Christ, not to be attached to any religion, but to seek truth and to use that incredible book that is the Bible as a roadmap and a game plan. So abundant joy and love has really been ingrained in me. I'm from a town of 6,000 in Mountain Grove, Missouri. It's near Springfield. Me and my brother were really, really close growing up. Lots of love so much love in my family. But as far as what's kind of ramped it up recently in my life, it's just as I've grown, the Buddha says, life is suffering, the world is suffering. And my little insular self in Mountain Grove, Missouri, I wasn't too much exposed to like, it ain't all leave it to Beaver, Preston. Like, and as I had 7 states in the North Central United States, I've moved down here, more states, and I've listened to podcasts, documentaries, and just really expanded the spectrum of the world around me. It is really solidified and concreted how blessed like this life is. Like, dude, Preston, you have a lot to be grateful for, young man. The very least you can do is put a smile on your face and go pump others the heck up as you've been pumped up. Like David Nurse wrote a book called Pivot and Go. Anyways, I highly recommend it. It's a simple book. It's got 29 steps in it. You break down the steps by day. Really cool book. Anyways, one of his quotes that he said is, speak life into others and you'll have life spoken into you. So it's almost an enlightened self-interest of like, hey, if I help them, like they don't even have them not even knowing it, that's helping me. So these days, with awareness of all I've been given, and in turn the unfortunate suffering in the world that by God's grace I don't have to partake in, it makes me so excited and appreciative to be alive and healthy and be able to be active and go encourage others.
Yeah, I love that. And so it sounds like this is just like who you are. This is like how, this is kind of a fortunate way of being. And yeah, suffering. I always have trouble with that. I hear that quote with the Buddha all the time. And I struggle with it a little bit. I'm not saying it's not true. I don't know.
Can I put a caveat on it?
Sure.
It's interesting as whether the Bible or any other ancient text, translation is so interesting because is this really translated exactly how that person meant it? Because you can't translate intention.
Right.
Our buddy, our somebody who we equally respect, Jordan Peterson, says another way that can be translated is life is constant dissatisfaction, which you can compare that to if you sit on the floor for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there's going to be a pain. Like if you don't move, there's going to be a pain so unbearable that you have to move, you have to adjust. So that kind of suffering is also what Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. And that's where I get that part because the true, and maybe I just choose the way that I choose to see things with my military background and my childhood and the things that I've experienced in life. I like to think, life is hard and life is challenging, but suffering is a choice, and that's the part of that thing that I one of the reasons that I excelled in my military career and have excelled in the military career, because as things started to suck, the more the things sucked, the more I just chose to love it. The more I just said, this is what I wanted. This is what I asked for. This is what I got. And I can either choose to be a victim. I can either say this is happening to me, or I can say this is happening for me. And I can choose how I want to feel about it, And
Amen, brother.
So that's the part about it's just the word suffering. Maybe I need to understand the word suffering a little more. I don't know.
Yeah. So that translation of the exact same thing the Buddha said, but translated into life is dissatisfaction in which our responses to it produce suffering. So I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, life is uncomfortable. Yeah, life is uncomfortable. That's where growth. Where growth happens.
Yeah.
I watched this a basketball coach who I'm not familiar with. I'm not a huge NBA fan, but he had these great quotes, and now I want to go learn more about him. But one of the things is saying that everything you want is just on the other side of hard. I love that quote. Okay, well, I want to. We could talk for hours, obviously, and we're probably gonna have to do part 2, 3, 4, and 5 of these conversations. But what I want to do is wrap this segment up with. There's someone listening right now who's trying to figure out their life. Maybe they're struggling with life, whether it be with peace, or whether it be with stillness, or maybe it be with their fitness. What recommendation might you give to somebody for how to kind of get started on the path to just get started, just like step one, to a happier way of being? I don't know another way to say that.
No, I'm with you. So I got 3 things. So I got this from Lewis Howes. He asks, his podcast is called The School of Greatness.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. I listen to it as well.
Yeah, so we can recommend that to everybody. Oh my gosh, it's good. Anyways, at the end, he asks every person, what are your 3 truths? Like if you had to leave your books, podcast, everything behind, but you had a piece of paper, and you had 3 truths. You can only put 3. Write them down on a piece of paper. I thought about that. I thought about it for many years, just obsessed with it. Like if I ever got a chance to say my 3 truths, what is it? And like I thought, no, I'll never even be on a podcast. Like,
well, here's your chance.
But it's something that I include in my journals, and it's something that is tattooed in my brain as of right now. And my 3 truths for Preston Douglas Stigall in his life right now in Bastrop, Texas, is seek truth, leave a profit, and smile more. And part of seeking truth is, first and foremost, go listen to Lewis Howes' podcast. Second, whatever. Like, as long as you seek truth on a daily basis, for you and I, it starts in the morning. Who you are and what you want to be will unfold. Like, just keep seeking. Seek truth, baby. I ain't going to shove the Bible or anything like that down anybody's throat. Hey, just with humility, go seek truth. You'll figure it out. Like, you're an awesome human being, whoever you are.
It will be revealed to you.
Exactly. Leave a profit. Oh my gosh. Going back to my morning ritual, filling up. I'll take the first 2 to 3 hours every single day to fill up. The rest of the day, I want to pour out, leaving a profit, whether that means with a word of encouragement, whether that means a bigger tip to the local server at the restaurant, whatever you do, leave a profit. Well, if you see a piece of trash, okay, pick it up, leave a place better than I found it. I can go on and on about the countless ways, minute by minute and day by day, interaction by interaction, that we can leave a profit. And third is smile more. Show those teeth. Yeah. It's going to make you feel better. It's as simple as that. Smile more.
Isn't it crazy how I practice this sometimes when I'm having a bad day in particular, and if I'm walking around, if I'm around people, I will make myself smile, even though I'm not feeling it on the inside in the beginning. I will go out of my way to smile at people who are passing by. I might even wish them. I might even say in my head, not out loud, but I love you, or I hope you have a good day. I'll say something positive in my mind to them, and how that changes your whole spirit, how it changes, so I love that. It's a simple thing that can really change your whole life.
Amen,
just smiling
brother.
more.
It's like, it is like a hack, the most simple hack for a dopamine kick in your brain. Smile more. No, you don't even have to say a nice thing, whether it be out loud or to yourself. Like, just start with the simple act of smiling more. And at first it's a little bit uncomfortable. Like, why am I smiling? And then it becomes addictive in the best way possible. There's no better addiction than something that serves humanity. You smile. Maybe this person has not had somebody smile at him all week. It's the least you can do.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, I think it's such a beautiful way to wrap up today's show. I'm so grateful for you for being on here. I mean, I'm going to listen to this over and over again because you just said so many powerful things about how you live your life. And so thank you for sharing that wisdom and that knowledge and those gifts with our audience. And I love you, man. I appreciate you.
God bless you, brother. I love you too. And forgive me, I'm sure I got a little bit wordy and stumbled all over a lot of stuff. Hey, my inaugural podcast in my life with somebody I hold so dear. Athan, thank you, and keep doing what you're doing. And I look forward to having as much a part of it as this life experience with you as God will allow.
I hope we get to walk this path for a very long time, man.
Thanks, brother.
All right, have a good one. Take care.